SXM Daily News, highlights of Sir Garfield Sober's final journey, continue at Kensington Oval. Fire Department urges public to exercise extreme caution as dry conditions increase bush fire risk. Convoy of trucks protest in Marigot as access to landfill to drop off waste denied. Former MP Godet warns of growing social crisis and calls for immediate action. From the island of St. Martin, this is SXM Daily News for July 29th, 2026. SXM Daily News highlights of Sir Garfield Sober's final journey continue at Kensington Oval. As Brian Lara recalls, first meeting with Garfield Sobers was not just a Indian sporting hero whose records inspired millions of sportswomen and me. He became a personal mentor, a friend, and someone whose belief in me shaped my own journey. Was fortunate enough to break one of his records, but that's where the similarities ended. He was so much more. A lot of the disciplines that make up the game of cricket that 99% of us cricketers did not consider possible. DNA Sigafi Subas did it with ease and grace. No one did it better.
For me, Sagari was not just a West Indian sporting hero, whose records inspired me and millions of sportsmen and sportswomen. He became a personal mentor, a friend, and someone whose belief in me shaped my own journey. I was fortunate enough to break one of his records, but that's where the similarities ended. He was so much more. A lot of the disciplines that make up the game of cricket, that 99% of us cricketers did not consider it part of our DNA. Sir Garfield Sobers did it with ease and grace. No one did it better. A few stories. The first time I met Sir Garfield Sobers, it was at the school's tournament branded by his name. And he got a message from Charlie and Brian Davis that a young man was coming to Barbados and he should have a look at him. He came and he met the team, and I looked at him, shook his hand, and I said, "Sir Sobers, are you the real Sir Sobers?" And he said yes. I left, I strapped up my pads, and I was praying that that day I was the only batter that he was actually going to see. When I got back to Trinidad, I told my dad that I met Sir Garfield Sobers, and he said to me, "What was he like?" I said, "Dad, he liked my batting. He really liked my batting." And if it's something that I'd like to leave here today, and maybe to tell the powers that be, use this opportunity to create a Sir Garfield Sobers initiative. That when we come back in 10 years' time to celebrate his 100th birthday, we might be celebrating a true resurgence in West Indies cricket. First time I met you, you were Sir Sobers. Sir Sobers, rest in peace, my mentor, my dad, my friend.
Marigot. A protest took place in Marigot Tuesday morning by private transporters of waste who have been denied access at the eco landfill in Grand Quay's cul-de-sac to drop off since the landfill closed on July 11th due to the site reaching a saturation point. Around a dozen trucks gathered at the Galley Bay car park, before driving to the collectivité and préfecture in protest. The objective was to obtain emergency meetings. A message spray painted onto the front of one truck read, "We need help, President." President Mussington is currently in Paris. An initial exchange took place in the car park with Vice President Bernadette Davis and other collectivité officials. The protest is being supported by the Public Works Association, Bâtiments Travaux Publics, BTP. There was an order from the préfecture to the collectivité to not transport waste to the dump because it is saturated. However, it was then decided to use different areas of the site to drop off waste, but only for the official workers for the collectivité, and not for the people who do private trucking from work sites and private properties. They are no longer admitted to the site, explained BTP Vice President Frank Viotti. The problem for the private truckers is that they are not honoring their obligations and contracts, and subsequently cannot be paid by the people they are working for, while garbage is piling up with nowhere to put it. 10 days ago, we wrote to the collectivité on behalf of the private truckers to have an urgent meeting to find a solution. But we have heard nothing, Viotti added. That prompted us to put waste skips in front of the collectivité and préfecture last night as a message. It seems neither the collectivité nor the préfecture want to take responsibility, or they say the management of the landfill should sort it out. We finally did talk to the president, who is in France, and told him the subjects we want to discuss, and he agreed to a meeting when he gets back, Thursday or Friday. That said, tomorrow, Wednesday, there is a meeting with the préfet on the subject, and we, our delegation, will be on standby, waiting for the result. The fire department, under the Ministry of General Affairs, is urging all residents, landowners, farmers, contractors, and business owners to exercise extreme caution, as prolonged dry weather conditions continue to elevate the risk of bush and vegetation fires across Sint Maarten. Recent devastating wildfires in France and Spain, fueled by prolonged heat, drought, and strong winds, serve as a reminder of how quickly fires can grow into large-scale emergencies, forcing mass evacuations, destroying homes and businesses, and placing enormous strain on emergency services. These events demonstrate that even a single spark under dry conditions can have catastrophic consequences. Although Sint Maarten does not experience wildfires on the same scale, the island's dry vegetation, seasonal winds, and hilly terrain create conditions where bushfires can spread rapidly, threatening homes, infrastructure, businesses, and the natural environment. The fire department is therefore strongly advising members to refrain from discarding lighted cigarettes, cigars, matches, charcoal, or any other burning materials, particularly along roadsides, vacant lots, hillsides, and areas covered with dry grass or brush. A single, carelessly discarded cigarette or ember can ignite dry vegetation and cause a rapidly spreading fire. Residents are also urged to refrain from burning bush, household garbage, construction debris, or engaging in any form of open burning during this dry period. Agricultural burning and land clearing activities should be postponed until weather conditions improve. Persons who believe controlled burning is necessary should first contact the fire department to obtain guidance and appropriate fire safety recommendations before commencing any activity. The fire department also encourages property owners to take preventative measures by clearing dry grass, removing dead leaves and branches, trimming overgrown vegetation, and disposing of combustible waste around homes and businesses. Maintaining defensible space around buildings can significantly reduce the likelihood of a fire spreading to structures. Motorists are reminded to ensure their vehicles are properly maintained and to avoid parking on dry grass, as hot exhaust systems and catalytic converters can ignite vegetation. Outdoor cooking equipment, barbecue grills, and generators should always be used safely and kept well away from dry grass, shrubs, and other combustible materials.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
The Central Bank of Curacao and Sint Maarten, CBCS, is warning financial institutions and consumers about the risks of dealing with companies that offer financial services without official authorization. The warning comes as the regulator announces a stronger enforcement approach against unauthorized providers operating in sectors such as banking, money transfers, insurance, trust services, and investment activities. The CBCS emphasized that companies operating outside the supervision framework may not follow important safeguards designed to protect the financial system. These include rules requiring proper identification of clients, monitoring of transactions, and reporting of suspicious activities, money laundering, and terrorism financing. According to the central bank, unregulated providers can create vulnerabilities that may be exploited for illegal activities, including money laundering and terrorism financing. Licensed financial institutions also have responsibilities in preventing these risks. The CBCS said supervised entities must take adequate measures to avoid entering into business relationships with companies that do not have the required authorization. If there is doubt about whether a company is legally allowed to provide financial services, institutions are expected to carry out enhanced checks before establishing or continuing a business relationship. The central bank is urging members of the public to verify the status of financial service providers through the official CBCS register before signing agreements or transferring funds. The regulator said its updated enforcement policy will allow it to use several tools, including public warnings, administrative penalties, and legal referrals in serious cases. In the most severe situations, suspected violations may be reported to the public prosecutor's office for further action. The CBCS has not provided details about specific investigations or possible offenders, but stressed that protecting consumers and maintaining confidence in the financial system remain priorities. Former Member of Parliament Anthony Gaudet is warning that Curacao is facing an alarming social situation and is calling on the government to move beyond discussions and take concrete action to address growing problems affecting families, workers, and vulnerable groups. In a public statement, Gaudet said, social workers from the Ministry of Social Development, Labour and Welfare, SOAW, should urgently enter neighbourhoods to identify the challenges faced by residents and develop short and medium-term solutions. According to Godet, the government should increase the number of social workers so that assessments can be carried out, completed, and followed up with effective support measures. Showing and continuing to talk about these situations is not the solution. Movement and action are needed, Godet stated. He highlighted several social issues that he says are becoming increasingly visible in communities across Curacao. These include fathers failing to take responsibility for raising their children, fathers abandoning mothers with children, and delays in the distribution of social assistance. Godet also pointed to families struggling with unpaid water and electricity bills, which can lead to disconnections, as well as students falling behind or dropping out of school due to difficult circumstances at home. The former parliamentarian raised concerns about unemployment, low wages compared with the cost of living, and residents carrying debts with financial institutions that they are unable to repay. He also expressed concern about older workers who have spent more than 20 years in government employment but face a significant reduction in income after retirement, with some receiving pensions below the minimum wage. Godet said he encounters these problems on a daily basis and believes that urgent intervention is needed to prevent social conditions from worsening. Curacao needs concrete movements and actions, he concluded. The situation requires solutions, not only continued discussion.
Now for the weather forecast, today through Thursday midday. Fair to partly cloudy, hazy and breezy. Isolated showers are possible. Surface winds, today through Thursday midday. Easterly to east-southeasterly with a gentle to moderate breeze at 8 to 16 knots. State of the sea. Smooth to moderate waves, swells. 1 to 5 feet outlook through Friday midday. Fair to partly cloudy, slightly hazy and breezy. Isolated showers are possible. And now your 3-day forecast.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurance.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurance.
The captain of the ill-fated MV Barima and 2 other officials appeared in court on Tuesday, facing 72 murder charges in connection with the July 18th ferry disaster that left at least 73 people dead and more than 30 others missing and feared dead. Police charged 40-year-old Captain Kevin Price, 42-year-old chief mate Rondell Dwayne Roberts, and 33-year-old DeLong Grandison, the loading superintendent at the Transport and Harbors Department, with a total of 72 counts of murder. The men appeared before Chief Magistrate Judy Latchman at the Georgetown Magistrates Court, where the charges were read to them. They were not required to enter pleas and were remanded to prison until August 3, 2026. Price, captain of the 87-year-old vessel, broke down in tears during the court appearance, saying he did not understand why he was facing murder charges and insisting that there were known issues with the ferry. "I don't deserve this, Father God. Father God, you answer my prayers this morning. Answer my prayers, Father God. I don't deserve this, please," Price said. He claimed that several problems with the vessel had been known since 2022, including the lack of radar and a search and rescue transponder. "Everybody knows that's an 87-year-old vessel. The vessel got a lot of issues. The vessel don't have a radar. The vessel doesn't have a search and rescue transponder," he said. Attorney Dexter Todd, who represents the accused men, said the defense team would seek early disclosure of evidence in the case. "We know so far that the disclosure is that 72 bodies were recovered, and so they were charged for all 72 of those deaths," Todd told reporters. "We listened to the prosecution narrate the facts in relation to why they were charged and who has what responsibility, and that the boat was overloaded." Todd questioned the allegation that the vessel was overloaded, pointing to comments by the minister responsible for transport and harbors that the ferry was not overloaded. "We had the minister who is responsible for transport and harbors come out on public television and say that the boat was not overloaded, and that was so pronounced," he said. The attorney also questioned how investigators would establish the vessel's load capacity and actual weight, arguing that the issue would require evidence beyond the loading manifest. Todd further criticized the speed of the investigation, saying it was unlikely that a matter of such complexity could have been fully investigated within the short period before charges were filed. "The complexity of this matter means you could not have completed an investigation in this matter in such a short time," he said. He argued that the police had already reached conclusions that should have been addressed through the planned commission of inquiry into the disaster. "The police have now done what the commission of inquiry is supposed to do, and they have already come to a definitive conclusion on this matter," Todd said. The attorney said, "The defense intends to make preliminary legal arguments after receiving disclosure on August 3rd, describing the charges as unfair and unjust." BBC News report, Saudi Arabia and the US have carried out strikes against Iran-backed militias in Iraq in a potential escalation of the Middle East conflict. US Central Command said the strikes were against Iran-aligned terrorists that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps directed to attack US forces and Saudi energy infrastructure. Iraq's paramilitary Popular Mobilization Forces, which is dominated by Iran-backed Shia militias, said at least 20 of its members had been killed in US-Saudi strikes on its bases. It came hours after CENTCOM said Iran had launched missiles at US forces in the Middle East in an attempted surprise attack, ending a lull in hostilities.
That's pretty significant because the Saudis are now hitting back at Iran-affiliated militias. They said that this comes in response to earlier airstrikes that targeted their oil facilities in the east part of the kingdom, and they accused Iran-affiliated militias based in Iraq of launching these attacks. The Saudis said that they never start aggression, but they are acting according to the right to self-defense. And this raises the question of whether or not we'll see more involvement of the Saudi forces in the fight against Iran and its proxies in the region. And over the years, I've seen the rising influence of the Popular Mobilization Forces, and many of these forces are backed by Tehran. They have played a key part in the fight against the so-called Islamic State around 10 years ago or so, and they have gained a lot of influence militarily and economically in Iraq. This is why they are a key part of this fight, and that has pushed another Shia cleric who's not aligned with Iran, like Muqtada Sadr, for example, in Iraq, to say that this kind of behavior might drag the country into war, and he called upon the government to enforce law and order and try to restrain these militias, because Iraq doesn't want to find itself as part of the ongoing fight against Iran.
So, Sally, the Popular Mobilization Forces, this paramilitary group that you speak of, they have been saying that at least 20 of their members were killed in these strikes, which is quite a high number. What has the government said about this, the Iraqi government?
So far, we haven't had a clear reaction from the Iraqi government. We know meetings are underway to discuss the latest developments, but the Popular Mobilization Force, which, as I said, is an umbrella group that includes a number of Iran-backed Shia militias, they said that this toll is still initial, and the numbers might rise in the coming few hours. 20 have been killed and another 30 were injured. We don't know if this figure is going to change in the next few hours, but again, this has always been a key issue, the behavior of the militants in Iraq, because they are well armed, and the government has been trying to control the way they behave, but so far it hasn't been a success, and they haven't handed over their weapons to the government yet, despite the continuing US pressure on the Iraqi government to put all the weapons in the hands of the militias under government control.
This is our SXM Daily Newscast. Thank you for joining us.